This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. How we doing today on this Tuesday? It is the Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. You're checking us out on the Bama Central YouTube channel or listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or on Amazon. I am Joe Gaither. You can find me at Joe Gaither, Joe Gaither 6, on any and all of your social media machines. And you are the listener and the viewer. And we appreciate you guys for liking, listening, rating, subscribing to the show on whatever platform you guys are enjoying us on. We don't do this without you, so we are very, very thankful for you. It's a bye week. We're going to have a little fun today on the Joe Gaither Show, and we're here with our friend Mason Woods. We want to make sure you follow him as well at MAWoods_. We got a few topics to get into. Not it's exactly, X's and O's related like we kind of usually do. We'll just kind of step outside.
We got to find things to talk about in the bye week.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to jump right into LSU. That's the thing, Mason. I don't want to spend 14 days talking about Brian Kelly, talking about Garrett Nussmeier. I don't want to do
plenty to unpack there, but we got time to do it.
Absolutely. How you doing this morning, Mason?
I'm doing good. I had a good afternoon yesterday. We got the show done. I thought we had a nice show yesterday. It was good to talk about that Missouri game, break it down a little bit. We'll get into it, I guess, maybe a little more today. But I thought, once again, there wasn't a whole lot bad to take away from what Bama did this weekend. I thought you can really only look at the positive, and moving forward, I think Bama's in a pretty good spot.
I think they are in a really good spot. You got 6-7 days to rest and recover. The guys are going to be off today. There's not going to be any practice again today. There was no practice yesterday. Got to give them a little bit of a rest. But really, you are right there for the home stretch. I know a little bit of September, sky is falling. Oh my God. No, October, sky is falling. But no, everything is A-okay. The sun has come up and all your goals are still in front of you. So we will talk about some of that today. But first, we want to thank our friend Derek Daniel for sponsoring the program. We are live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. You can visit us right off the McFarland Boulevard, right past the Tiger Rock on the left, right here in Northport. You can call Derek and all his employees, Red, Reese, and Victoria, for all of your insurance needs, home, life, and auto insurance. We appreciate them for taking care of us and sponsoring the program. Call 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. So I want to do 3 topics, kind of like we usually do, Mason. Mm-hmm. And here we go. We want to talk about Mike Elko, and we want to kind of rank SEC coaches. Mike Elko had a huge win on Saturday and was a little spicy in the postgame. Now he's kind of corrected that. So we want to kind of compare and contrast SEC coaches this year using the Mike Elko kind of window dressing. And then we'll talk about Bryson Hubbard a little bit more. Bryson Hubbard got a very distinct honor this week. Maybe you don't think it's an honor, but across college football, across the football landscape, he received a pretty nice little honor, and we'll use that to talk about other players we want to see over the last month at Alabama. And then finally, it's Tuesday. We had Monday Night Football last night, so you ended another week in the NFL. I don't want to talk about the NFL. Bleep you guys. Don't bring it up. Do not bring it up.
I mean, I don't know. A heartbreak right at the last second is pretty bad. I've been in just hell for 8 weeks now. So, I've already gotten over how horrible the Titans are.
I don't want to talk about the Bears. That was just so bad. But we will talk about the Alabama performances because there was a lot of great Alabama performances. And we've got an amazing Bama in the NFL tracker right there on BamaCentral.com. So if you are looking for a one-stop shop to find out what all the guys did, literally all the guys did, all the way down to their playing percentages. Very, very great job for our friends right there at BamaCentral.com. So we'll talk about that Bama in the NFL to wrap us up. But we should start with Mike Elko. You're on to?
Let's do it. Let's start with Mike Elko. Mike Elko, I mean, like you said, that's one of the probably best wins across college football this year. I don't think it's necessarily better than Alabama's dismantling of Georgia, but it's again one of the best wins in the SEC, especially one of the best wins in all of college football. And like you said, he was a little fired up after the game. I think I do have his quote here. Yeah, he said so after the game. Mike Elko, he goes to his press conference, and I think this was part of the opening statements. He makes a very clear message to college football, message to any recruits that are interested in coming to Texas A&M, and he says this is a real program. It's not fake. It's not a politician running this program, talking fast and BSing everybody. This is a real program, and for all the recruits out there, this is a real place. Now, me and you heard that, and I think we both immediately thought that was a shot. I think you thought it was maybe a shot towards the previous Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher,
I did.
and I maybe thought it was a shot at Brian Kelly. Yesterday, Mike Elko has his Monday press conference, and he immediately jumps out and tries to clear things up. He says, "You gave me multiple opportunities in the last 9 months to take shots at people, and I've never done it. I have nothing but respect for Coach Fisher. I've said nothing but positive things about Coach Fisher. I'm the head coach at Texas A&M because of Coach Fisher. I appreciate who he is and everything he's done. For anybody in the media to think that's what I was doing is asinine." I didn't hear Brian Kelly's name. Maybe that was a shot towards the LSU coach, towards the LSU fans, towards the LSU program, for maybe the way that Brian Kelly carries himself a bit. You think back to when he was hired, me and my family, you think, so he's I think Brian Kelly, I don't think it's absurd to think that he hams it up a little bit when he gets the opportunity to get on TV and get in front of people or get in front of recruits. I think you think the really like cringy dancing with the recruits video, that was bad. So Brian Kelly has his fair share of kind of goofy, questionable moments. And maybe this was Mike Elko taking a shot at him. He did say, "I'm not taking a shot at anybody," whatever. But he only mentioned one coach by name.
What conference is Hofstra? And Hofstra is FCS program. I think that these two coaches, I think these two coaches, not at Hofstra. I think Brian Kelly and Mike Elko, I think I read that these two guys recruited against one another. Bowling Green, maybe, when Mike Elko was at Bowling Green, 09 to 13. That's got to be it. 09 to 13, and Brian Kelly's at Cincinnati and at Central Michigan. It's kind of same sort of conversation, same sort of
circles,
right there in the Midwest.
Recruits. Maybe this is a very deep running, maybe these roots run deep in this rivalry between not just and now Texas A&M and LSU potentially, but maybe Mike Elko and Brian Kelly. This is very interesting. We're uncovering something here.
Our friend Stingray comments on Facebook, and you can comment on the Facebook machine at Joe Gaither 6. The worst team in the SEC is no doubt Mississippi State. Thank you for your comment, Stingray. That's they've been the bottom tier in our power rankings the entire year.
I don't think I really can fight you super hard on that.
I'm not sure where that. Yep, they are the worst team. Yes, they are.
I hate it for Mississippi State. I hate it for first-year coach Jeff Levy. I think I was not necessarily hyped up about what Mississippi State could do, but I was optimistic about maybe what he could bring as an offensive mind. And it seems like, while they've hung on in some games, they're not quite there.
You lose your quarterback, and that's just you don't have a defense, and
they'll figure it out.
Tough sledding at Mississippi State, but this kind of is a nice little spur. We wanted to use the Mike Elko and Brian Kelly, and dispel the narrative that it was about Jimbo Fisher. We'll believe you, Mike Elko,
sure.
And I do think it's about the win over Brian Kelly. Let's rank these coaches in the SEC this year. We're 9 weeks into the season, and when Alabama, you got one more month left to play. 3 SEC games: Oklahoma, LSU, and Auburn. And so you're basically right there in the last quarter of the year. You went into the year, everybody, Kirby Smart is king. Steve Sarkisian is king. They're going to be the top dogs. But I wonder who's done the best job this year? Who's done the best job with what they had? I don't think that Steve Sarkisian or Kirby Smart have done a bad job by any means. They are in my top 5. I ranked the top 5 coaches in the SEC this year based on the job they've done this year. No, I don't care about anything years past. And then we've also got the bottom 5 coaches this year. So we'll go back and forth. Mason, you want to go 5-1 or 1-5 back and forth?
Let's go 5-1.
5-1. I think I've got a little buzzer here. Yeah. Do you hear this? Oh, well, not if that's off. Do you hear that sounder?
I do.
Okay. So we'll go on with that little sounder there. Mason, my number 5. I think this coach has done a decent job, but look, the path has not been quite difficult for Texas. You played your first SEC game outside of the state of Texas this past week, and it was against who? Vanderbilt, where you probably had a majority share of fans in the stands.
I think I saw that literally there was active construction happening during that game. You saw guys in hard hats and high-vis vests like posted up on the railing looking over watching it. So yeah, no, it's not exactly a tough place to play.
So I'm going with my number 5. I do like UC Sarkeesian a lot,
yeah,
but I think that because maybe the task in front of you hasn't been very difficult this year, you're coming in at number 5 for me.
This is my exact gripe with Texas. Like that right there, you just said it. They talk all this big game. Oh, we're Texas. We're the best brand in the college football, whatever. And then you beat around the bush for decades waiting to join a real conference. And now that you're finally really good, you say, oh, okay, yeah, we'll come to the SEC. And then you're going to act like, oh, Texas dominated the SEC in their first year. And it's like, there's a lot of context to that. There's a lot of nuance to that. But I don't disagree. I do still think Steve Sarkisian's a very good coach. I think, while, the path has been kind of easy, he's done exactly what was laid out in front of him. So I think the only hiccup is that Georgia game, and it's Georgia.
Right. Your first big the Oklahoma game is a test, but they're really not having a great year.
Yeah.
Your first real test is Georgia at home, in your home.
Smacked in the mouth a little bit.
Yeah, was it 23-0, 20-0?
Yeah, I think so.
So not ready for your first test. I can't rank you any higher than number 5, even though your season has gone well. You're in the top 5. You're in the top 5, top 10 in the country.
Still in the conversation to be a national champion, probably.
You failed your only major test, so you can't go any higher than 5. You want to go with number 5 for you, or your Steve Sarkisian is your 5?
I think I agree with that. I think I'm right there with you.
All right, so number 4 for me, don't kill me, Alabama fans, but number 4, I think Kalen DeBoer has been the 4th best coach in the SEC this year. Kalen DeBoer, you have all kinds of transition. We've outlined it a bunch. Transfer portal this, coaching turnover that. And not only did he have coaching turnover from the previous Nick Saban staff, he brought in his own staff, and 2 or 3 important Ryan Grubb, they end up saying, oh, no, I think not Kyle Flood, Ryan Grubb and the offensive basically he loses his offensive line coach and offensive coordinator in 2 days, and they go back to the NFL, and all kinds of turnover, all kinds of transition. And you have to teach Jalen Milroe a new system. You have to teach the defense a new system under the biggest microscope in college football. I mean, no other organization, no other fan base cares what kind of shoes you're wearing, cares what kind of T-shirt you're wearing. But Alabama does. Alabama and their fan base does. The microscope and the scrutiny is extremely high. And you're 5-2 right here with a month left to play. 5 or 6-2. 6-2 now. Yeah, thank you. 6-2 with a month left to play. Look, everything's all out in front of you.
Yeah. There's another one where I kind of have to agree with you. I think some Alabama fans following that Tennessee game maybe have called us crazy, but I really think when you look at the big picture here, you look at, like you said, everything is still out in front of Alabama. They still have every aspiration they want. They can still go achieve it. This is not a team that is out of the college football playoff. This is not a team that got their 3rd loss this weekend. Everything is right there for Alabama to go take. So Kalen DeBoer in his first year here, I think, is doing a perfectly fine job. I'm not going to sit here and say he's amazing, and that's why we rank him number 4. I think if he wins that game against Tennessee, he's maybe up in these rankings a bit, but it is what it is. I still think he's done great with what he has.
Absolutely. So Kalen DeBoer, number 4 for me, and I think that you've got a little room to keep going if you beat LSU. I mean, you make the college football playoff, I'll probably put you in the top 3, because of just all the circumstances that you had to deal with this year. Number 3, though, don't kill me, Mom and Dad. I love you so much, but I'm putting Kirby Smart at number 3. I think Kirby Smart has done a good job, but look, the expectations were to dominate everyone.
Yeah.
You went to Kentucky and had a dud game. Now, look, that has been a Georgia MO up in Lexington before, but you went up to Lexington, had a lackluster game. You came to Tuscaloosa. Now, look, I think the Tuscaloosa loss was really more of a positive on Kirby Smart than anything, because you go into the locker room down
about his team
really, really bad, 30-7, right? 23 points, 30-7, and they came out gangbusters, guns blazing, like we ain't laying down. And I was extremely impressed with Georgia after that.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, 30-7. Wow, this is the best I've ever seen Alabama play for a half. And then Georgia just said, we're not going to take that. I was super impressed with their response. And to carry the response from the second half into Austin a couple of weeks later and say, you know what, we're not going to be the ones to we're not going into a road environment and getting punched in the mouth again.
Yeah.
I'm really like, yes, you should be doing this, Kirby. You should be dominating. You should be a top 2 team in the country. You should be really, I mean, you got a great quarterback. I'm really impressed with Carson Beck. I know that some of my Georgia fan friends are not big fans of him.
Carson Beck doesn't quite get the respect he maybe deserves.
Oh,
I think he's a very solid, very consistent quarterback. I don't think he's going to wow you with, bombing it down the field to people, but he's not going to turn the ball over a bunch either.
He's cerebral. I think he is cerebral, and I like his arm strength. I like his ability to push the ball down the field. I just think that Georgia
doesn't really ask him too much.
Right, and I don't think he has a lot of trust with the skill positions.
Fair. Yeah.
You look at last year, Marcus Roseby-Jack saying he was in there for like 4 years. You trusted that guy. You trusted Brock Bowers with your life. You trusted Ladd McConkey with your life. He doesn't trust these guys, and I think that's Georgia's biggest issue in the passing game right now. But I'm just impressed with Kirby's just, okay, we took one on the chin to Alabama, and really we didn't. We kind of took a haymaker in the first half and stood back up and gave you all you wanted, Alabama.
Lost by decision at the end,
exactly. And so for them, like, you should be doing this, Georgia, but their path has been really impressive to me. So I'm taking Kirby number 3 for me. Do you want to present a different 3?
I do think Kirby would maybe be a little higher for me. I think at 3. It's a little it's tough because of they do have a bad loss, but I kind of got to throw Josh Heupel in there. I think what he's done with Nico Iamaleava this season, being Iamaleava, man, that name always trips me up. I said it that way for so long, only to learn I was incorrect.
Iamaleava.
But I think what he's done with him is impressive. I think he found something. I think they found something against Alabama that worked in that second half when he started being able to kind of connect on some deep throws. I think that was maybe, we talked about the fourth down stop to get the shutout against Missouri being a turning point for Alabama this season. I think maybe that was a turning point for Tennessee this season, where they, found out, like, okay, we got it. Nico found it. He has the arm. He can connect with his receivers, and maybe moving forward, maybe they go beat Georgia in a couple weeks. So we'll see. If that happens, I think Heupel shoots up my power rankings of SEC coaches. But until up to this point, I think he's put together an impressive season minus the one bad loss.
I like that pick, definitely, for sure. Definitely. I know my Tennessee friends would love that pick. And if you do go down to Athens and win, then you are definitely getting into my top 5, and I will be dropping Kirby out of that probably if that's what ends up happening in a couple of weeks. Tennessee gets to maybe fire Mark Stoops this week. Maybe, probably not, based on Mark Stoops' buyout. We'll get into the worst coaches in just a little bit, but I think Tennessee's been very impressive as well. Number 2 for me, I got to do it. Clark Lee, number 2 with the Vanderbilt Commodores. Yeah. Vanderbilt, where are you at, Vanderbilt? 5-3 overall this year, 2-2 in the league. 2-2 in the league. Obviously, the big old win over Alabama. Look, you've got the bad loss, the Georgia State last second bad loss. But if you hold on to that, you're 6-3. You're in the rankings still. They're in the others receiving votes this past week after losing to Texas. I think that what Clark Lee has done, they go out and hire the offensive coordinator from New Mexico State, and they get Diego Pavia. Great. I think Clark Lee it takes a lot of humility from a head coach to say, you know what? I'm going to go hire an offensive coordinator, and you just run it. Yeah. You just run it. I'm really good at defense. I'll be kind of the CEO as well, but you just run the offense. And then to embrace and implement the offensive style of, we're going to muddy this up. We're going to play triple option football and hit you in the nose. And, in 2024, where college football is, that's countercultural. That's not the norm. That's not, the right. And maybe Clark Lee said, hey, we're Vanderbilt. We can't be the norm. We have to do something that makes us stand out. You think back to the old Georgia Tech days in the ACC with Paul Johnson and how they stayed really in every game and competitive. Yep. Maybe it's the same little embracing the old tradition. I think Clark Lee has made them believe that it doesn't matter who's across from us. We can bloody their nose and drag them into deep waters. I've been really impressed with Clark Lee.
Yeah, I have to. I'm realizing now that you say Clark Lee that he just kind of like left my mind for a second when I was thinking of this list, but he definitely should be up there. I don't know if I'd necessarily put him quite that high. That Georgia Southern loss is pretty bad. Or Georgia State, Georgia Southern, whatever it is, it's a pretty bad loss. But yeah, it's been impressive. Vanderbilt, you beat Alabama. That's probably earned you a top 5 spot in as one of the head coaches in this league anyway. So maybe I'd have to knock Sark out of my top 5 and put Clark Lee there at that 5 spot, or maybe bump DeBoer down to 5, Clark Lee at 4, somewhere around there. But I everything you said is correct. This has been, no one saw this coming from Vanderbilt. You go get Diego Pavia, you go get the new offensive coordinator, like you said, and they've turned it around. People believe in Nashville.
That's nuts to me. That's crazy. And number 1, Stingray, I already said it. He put it in our chat. Stingray, number 1 for me is definitely Mike Elko. And did I think that he was going to be the number 1 coach 8 weeks in? No. Going into the season? No. I thought Texas A&M, too many cooks in the kitchen. He's not going to be able to deal with the politics. Not going to be able to get. But he has
impressed me.
Yeah, he's kind of done a little bit of the workman, kind of brought the workman mentality to Texas A&M, and they commented on that during yesterday's press conference. Oh, I think the Texas A&M people have really embraced you because you're the hard worker. And he goes, no, they've embraced me because we've won 7 games.
I love that so much.
It's like, oh, I'm not dumb. If I was working hard and losing, they wouldn't care. I think, look, you lose your first game at home to Notre Dame, and I thought, oh, that's not what you want. That's not how you want to start. But they are now, 7 in a row? 7 in a row. Yeah, 8. Yeah. Where are we at? Where's my record? 7-1. Yeah, 5-0 in the league. So they've won 7 games in a row, and really, really been impressive. I mean, they welcomed Missouri in for what would have been a top 10. Well, I think it was a top 15 matchup, and they beat the brakes off of Missouri. They said, "What?"
That was kind of when everybody started to think, like, "Oh, is Texas A&M good, or is Missouri really bad?" It was kind of a bit of a strange moment for the SEC this year.
And then you go back to just this week specifically, you are in a dogfight. You're down with LSU. You're not really happy with what you're getting out of the quarterback position. It takes a lot of it takes a lot of guts to go to the backup quarterback. I know Marcel Reed has played this year and has played well this year, but it does take guts to say, you know what, we're mixing this thing up. We're going to do something different. I'm really impressed with Mike Elko, and right now with 4 weeks left to go in the year, hoping, praying, Lord, please, I need a Texas A&M Thanksgiving winner to the SEC championship. Loser is out. Loser finishes 3rd. Loser finishes 4th. Kind of a deal. Please make the stakes of that game that high. Have you seen the ticket prices for that game already?
Oh,
I think the cheapest get-ins are like $1,300. Or you can look it up right now. And if you don't have an oil well, you're not getting in, because that's going to it's already stacking up as one of the most expensive tickets in college football this year. And obviously I'll be watching it from the couch just like you will, but I need that thing. I don't care about that 3rd NFL game on that Thursday night.
No.
Bears are playing early that day. I'll be done with the NFL at 1. Give me Texas A&M. Winner goes to the SEC title game. Loser is playing are we still in the playoff game?
From $666, by the way, just to get in.
That's the lowest right now?
Yeah. I need that. I'm right there with you. I think what Mike Elko has done is the most impressive coaching job in the SEC. You look at what the coach has done for his team, he's the most impressive one. I think I didn't expect Texas A&M to be as good as they are. I thought this was going to be a middle of the pack SEC team. Maybe you're looking at an 8-4 season kind of deal, but he has obviously found something that works there, and he is, really kind of built in a very short time his own culture there.
So those are our top 5 coaches in the SEC this year. You're welcome to jump in, just like Stingray did, into the comments section at Gaither6 on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Let us know your number 1, your top 5, whatever you want to do. If you think we got it wrong, we appreciate any of your comments, questions, queries, and complaints. Let's flip it to the worst. Let's go to the other side, the stinky side. And we'll go 5-1, just like we did. And I hate to do this to you. Because first-year coach in a terrible situation. What? 3rd coach in 3rd years in Starkville. Yeah, Jeff Lebby, I'm sorry, but I've got to make Jeff Lebby my 5th worst coach in the SEC this year. and it's only because of the record, but the circumstances are so hard. I hate to do it. The circumstances, you lost your starting
really
quarterback.
just because we have to throw a fifth guy.
Right. I didn't have a good 5. I didn't have you could make an argument maybe Lane Kiffin's underwhelmed. You can make an argument maybe Shane Beamer still. Shane Beamer,
he still has a chance if he beats Georgia.
Right. You can make an argument Sam Pittman's there, but they've been in 1 games this year. So 5 for me. I'm sorry, but Jeff Levy, it's got to be you.
I hate to do it. I'm right there with you. I hate to. It feels like bullying almost to pile on Mississippi State just because of kind of the circumstance they found themselves in. First year coach with a roster that is really not up to par for playing in the SEC. You lose your quarterback, so it's all things are not going well in Starkville. But I think he is in a position where they're not going to overreact and maybe fire him after a bad year. So he's maybe got some time there to build. So I think give Jeff Lebby a little time and maybe he can figure it out.
The Jeff Lebby number 5 for both of us. Number 4 for me, I am going Brent Venables. You are the 4th worst coach in the SEC this year because, look, you should have. You're Oklahoma. Is this how you want to be? Is this how you want to represent yourself in the SEC? 4-4, what is it? 3 or 4 losses in a row. You lost to South Carolina 35-9. You lost to Texas 34-3. This past week, 3 in a row. 3 in a row. Lost to Ole Miss 26-14 after being up. Not good. And Tennessee went into your house and basically punked you, for lack of a better word. You beat Auburn. Well done, I guess. You beat a hapless Auburn team. But Brent Venables, I mean, I know the biggest issue this year was supposed to be will the offensive line gel? Will the transfer portal ease be right?
Look, I was sold on Jackson Arnold being a Heisman candidate.
Ooh, you're brave.
I distinctly remember seeing people saying that this offseason.
Was it the Manning camp stuff, or
I don't know? I heard it. I saw it. He was supposed, he was lauded as this quarterback for Oklahoma. He was the next in line of Oklahoma quarterback. He sucks.
Not good.
They've been bad.
And they look. You got to get same sort of deal with Jeff Lebby. Lots of injuries. How many games did they not have a single wide receiver?
Absolutely depleted. So that obviously weighs a lot on it. But I don't know. It's just the things that you are supposedly good at, the defense and everything. Even the defense has not looked great a lot of the time this year. So
exactly. They look like an unhealthy program to me. It looks like a program that's not building forward, not moving. It looks like a program that is in look, you've got programs right now that are still operating in the traditional fashion of we're going to bring in great recruiting classes, we'll try to hold on to them and we'll try to develop them. And then you have other programs that maybe a la Ole Miss that are like, hey, we're not going to be that traditional program. We're going to operate out of the transfer portal and try to stitch it together. I don't think that's the healthy way. And I think that's the way that Oklahoma has sort of trended to in the last 2 years. And I know, look, part of that is like new coach trying to establish his program. We got to get guys in and be competitive. But Brent Venables, the defense was supposed to take a step forward, has a little bit. The offense, you just got to get back to you're Oklahoma. You're a college football blue blood. You can recruit coast to coast. You can retain talent. I'm not real sure what the issue is at Oklahoma right now. But Brent Venables is my number 4.
Brent Venables issue? I mean, do you think it's a personality, a culture kind of issue? Because he obviously, we know, look, going back to his time, like he's always kind of been like one of the hardo kind of old schooly type guys. At least it seemed like optics wise, that's kind of the type he is. Very in your face, very going to get on you when you do things wrong. And maybe that doesn't vibe well with Norman, Oklahoma. I don't know. But it's obvious there's something that's just not working there. Something's not gelling, like you said.
I'm not sure what it is. I wonder if it's a maybe organizational issue. I'm really good at defense. Maybe not as good of a CEO per se, because you have to be both. You have to either be a CEO or you have to be an expert at one side of the ball. You got to be a little bit of both. And I just wonder if he's just, hey, I'm a really great defensive coordinator. I can put you in a blender from a defensive standpoint, but as an entire CEO, I wonder if he's struggling from that standpoint.
This isn't somebody I necessarily want to throw in the bottom 5, but maybe an honorable mention, Lane Kiffin. I'm looking at you, Lane Kiffin. I'm upset with you. This was supposed to be your year. You go out, you get the portal king, you call yourself. You go out and you get the best of the best in the transfer portal. Then you lose to Kentucky and Oklahoma. Like, you had the schedule.
They beat Oklahoma.
LSU. Sorry. Still, this was like your year. You had the schedule. All you had to do
Not lose to Kentucky.
You didn't even have to beat Georgia. You just had to not lose the other games.
Right. Not lose to Kentucky.
So,
that's the bottom. Like you lose to LSU on the road, okay, happens.
You are right there on this line of being one of the worst coaches because of you have disappointed this season. I was one banging the drum for Lane Kiffin to be hired when Nick Saban retired.
I love you, Lane.
I still do love him. I always will. But man, you're making me feel dumb for having wanted you to come to Alabama.
Stingray chimes in. LSU, Lane Kiffin blew the LSU game with bad play calling. Exactly right, Stingray. And that's why I think you're right, Mason. Honorable mention, Lane Kiffin, probably at 6 or 7 on the fifth or on the outside looking in. My number 3, though, has been a personal issue for how many years, Joe? Really, since he's been at Florida. Billy Napier, my 3rd worst coach in the SEC. Billy Napier, so disorganized. And look, it looks like DJ Lagway is your answer.
Yeah, he looks pretty good.
I like him. I just think that Billy is in over his head. Not the right fit.
He always looks confused. Like every single time the camera looks to Billy Napier on the sideline, he looks like he has no idea what's happening.
Just looks confused. Just giving the clap and got the buzz. He's a wide receivers coach. That's what you are. You're a position coach.
Is a nice way to put it.
And then, but you combine it with the dynamics that are in Florida with
what they want to be, what they think they are.
Steve Spurrier with an office still in the building. Like you have so many cooks in the kitchen, so many hands in the fire that if you don't have a really, really strong leader there, and you don't, and the program's kind of wishy-washy, going different directions, and okay, you went up to Kentucky and you won, but prepare to get your butt kicked this week by Georgia. I mean, Georgia is going to eviscerate you. This is going to be, here's an example. I think I saw this Georgia senior class has a chance to go 4-0 against Florida for like the first time since the early 90s or the 80s. Like it's been a long time since Georgia has gone four straight against Florida. And that's all because, it's all because of coaching, in my opinion. You can recruit in Gainesville, and they have recruited decently.
They've gotten, it's not like there's not a lack of athletes. There's not a lack of talent at Florida. When that is the case, it usually boils down to coaching. I would not want to be a Florida fan.
You going a different number 3, or are you going with Billy with me?
I gotta go Billy Napier.
Number two. I know you're the all-time leading wins leader at your school, but Mark Stoops, you are the 2nd worst coach in the SEC this year. Easily. And look, I got a problem with you, Mark Stoops. You go and you get your doors blown off by Georgia last year. Okay, that happens. That can happen to any program. That's not a problem. But you go into the press conference and you blame your fans for, their budget, their NIL budget at Georgia is so much bigger than ours. If you want to get us competitive, you got to don't. That is the dirtiest, ickiest comment after the game. Okay, so that was about 9 months ago, 10 months ago. You fast forward, you've got Georgia on the ropes in your home stadium with whatever NIL budget you've cooked up in the last 9 months.
Georgia's old backup quarterback.
Exactly. And you're sitting there 4th and 5, 6, 7, and you punt the ball away, and basically giving the game away, giving the game back to Georgia, saying, we don't want to go for it. We don't want to, no risk it, no biscuit. I risked it over the last week. I didn't get the biscuit, but I'm happy. I'm happy we went for it.
He seems like a prime example of just, I'm coaching to maybe not get fired.
Oh, exactly. He's got I think I saw from KSR, Kentucky Sports Radio, $44 million buyout. And so the guys at KSR are like, there's no chance that he's getting fired because of that. They're saying we're going to have a Calipari situation where coach and administration come together and say, hey, it's just not working out. Thanks, but no thanks. You lose to Vanderbilt. You lose to Georgia. You lose to Florida. Did they lose to South Carolina as well? Where's my schedule right there? They're 3-5. You're 1-5 in the league, right? No, South Carolina beat you 31-6. Georgia, you lost. Okay, that happens, but you coached scared. You did go beat Ole Miss, and so the talent is there a little. This is a coaching issue in Kentucky. And Mark Stoops, to go back to the very beginning of this, you lose to Vanderbilt. And you once again hit the NIL well. We need more donations. We need more passion out of our fan base.
Vanderbilt.
I know the Vandy's a decent team this year, a top 40 team this year, but that's not.
That's the
not
angle you take here.
after losing to Vanderbilt. Because look, Vanderbilt beat you because they're tougher than you, not because they're more skilled, not because their NIL budget is 4 times yours. Vanderbilt just said, hey, here's our game plan. We're going to stick to it and punch you in the mouth for 60 minutes. Anyone can coach that. You can coach that into your own team, talent or not. Vanderbilt is not talented. Look, I respect them because of what they've done. They're not talented. And to go into the postgame, asking for more NIL after Diego Pavia beats your butt? Like, how much money do you think Diego Pavia got to go to Vanderbilt? 10 grand? Probably not much. Yeah. You're seeing him after the Alabama win, go out and put T-shirts out, and I think he signed with an NIL agent after that game. So it's not like Vanderbilt's operating on any sort of freaking budget.
Yeah, it's just it's a bad look. I'm right there with you once again. Mark Stoops, buddy, you gotta.
It's disgusting. Yeah. It's disgusting with the game that we're playing because we're playing a high-level game.
And his buyout, $40 million, and you're going to complain. You want to be mad at the fans for not donating more money to your program to go out and get blue-chip players. It's gross.
Exactly. In the day and age,
own up to what you have put on the field, which is a bad product. You have not gone out and recruited well. You have not coached well, and just own up to it.
I don't really want to dive into politics at all, but like money is tight for everyone. Everyone, period. No matter what end of the spectrum you're on. And look, I love the Chicago Bears, but I'm not donating any bleeping money to them. Like,
for a second, I'm going to try to pay somebody's salary on the Titans. You're crazy.
Exactly. And so, Mark, it's just out of touch, extremely out of touch, especially considering the fate of your program where I have a real issue with Mark Stoops, and so he is my number 2. You want to go a different number 2, or are you with me?
No, I'm with you.
Number 1 is obvious. Number 1 is got to be Hugh Freeze.
Hey, he's coaching them boys up.
Hugh Freeze, I'm going to be myself this week, and I'm going to be tough.
He's coaching hard.
Look, you coach hard, you got your first SEC win. It's funny how that works out. You give the ball to your best player, Jarquez Hunter, 27, 28 times, and you win the game. Yeah. Funny how that works. You take the ball out of Peyton Thorne's hands. You stop throwing. Look, Cam Coleman's going to be a badass wide receiver, but you want to rely on freshman wide receivers out there? Like, you freeze. And then every week, well, we just got to get the roster right. We just are, our cupboard's not full. We got to restock the cupboard. We just want patience right here in the Auburn family. It's just different down here.
The same thing Stoops is doing.
Yes. I know. I know that the right way is to recruit out of high school and to develop.
Mm-hmm.
But Hugh, just despicable. The attitude back in. Look, I'm not an Auburn fan, but if I were an Auburn fan, I would be really, really having a hard time. Really having a hard time this year because of everything that he said. Throwing Peyton Thorne on the bus, throwing interceptions, this and that. Like, just his entire approach to the Auburn Tigers. And there is an argument. There is a small group of people that think that Hugh Freeze might be playing Auburn, might be playing them so that he can get a nice buyout and go to the beach and just enjoy his life.
Man, oh man.
I'm not in that camp. But it's just an awful coaching job. Awful for over 2 years, atrocious. But especially this year. Your first year, I'm going to give you grace. Yeah. Last year, things weren't right. You're rebuilding from Brian Harsin. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't look much different this year.
No, you went out and you did recruit well. You went out, you got some big-name players. You got some of the top players in the state of Alabama. You got some of the top players in the country to come to Auburn. And this is the result. You get no slack in the second year. Not you, Hugh Freeze.
Not at Auburn. Not at Auburn.
No, that's
because the Auburn people, the Auburn faithful, whether if you're watching this show and you agree or not, okay, I don't care. But the Auburn people think that they are big brand football.
Yes.
And if you are, okay, we'll accept that as reality.
He does not get the leash that Jeff Levy does.
Exactly. My man Stingray chimes in. I want to hit one more comment for him. You can always comment on the Facebook machine. Mark Stoops and Shane Beamer have to be 1 and 2. My only reason, because everybody knows I don't really like Shane Beamer either. Shane's had South Carolina ready for each game, I think. They came into Tuscaloosa and almost beat Alabama, had Alabama on the ropes. They went out to Oklahoma and won big. Okay, you lost to Kentucky. and you were in the game with LSU. I don't really have if I were ranking, I'd put Shane Beamer 6 or 7, right in the range. I don't have him very high, but I do think that he has done a decent job for what they have had this year. So Shane Beamer, number 6. I just wanted to address that comment.
Yeah,
you got a different number 1, or you got any other coaches hanging out there that you want to?
No, but just to not necessarily, I don't want to defend Shane Beamer. I'm not.
Feel free to.
I'm not a Shane Beamer apologist, but just to defend him a little bit this year. I mean, you look at the schedule. The 3 losses are the 3 ranked teams they have played. So it's not like he's getting beat by teams he has no business losing to. He beat the teams that they were supposed to beat, and he lost to the teams he was supposed to lose to. So I think he's doing a fine job.
Right, for South Carolina.
Yes,
got to keep that South Carolina person. I mean, have they won one SEC East championship right under Steve Spurrier or none? Did they go to that?
One?
I think they made the SEC
one.
title game, but maybe they didn't. I don't know that they've ever won the SEC East. So yeah, it's South Carolina. Come on, guys. Before we talk about players and move on to the next,
they did.
They did. Okay,
they lost to Auburn in the SEC title.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Before we move on to our next topic, we want to tell you about our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. Check them out online today at roofturtle.com. We so appreciate Dustin Foley and his team sponsoring the program, Purple Turtle Roofing. We're live here in the Derek Daniels State Farm Studios. You can call Derek 205-758 and see how much Derek can save you today. All right, let's keep it moving right here on the Joe Gaither Show. We appreciate everybody who's watching us on YouTube, listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Amazon. Subscribe, rate, review the show if you like. I want to play a little game with you, Mason. You want to play a little game?
Let's play a little game.
Brayson Hubbard makes his first start this past week for the Crimson Tide. Starts in place of Keon Sabb. And look, Keon Sabb, great player. Mm-hmm. So this is not an indictment on Keon at all. But Brayson Hubbard had a pretty nice little honor this week. If you guys are not paying attention to Pro Football Focus, that is A-okay. That's no problem. But these guys read and grade pretty much all NFL and all college. Who was the highest rated safety? Who had the highest grade for a safety this past week in college football? It wasn't Malachi Moore, who had 4 turnovers in 3 games. It was one Brayson Hubbard making his first start in an Alabama uniform. Pretty impressed with Brayson this past week. Yeah. Gets you to the interception, lay in the wood. I like the way Bray tackles. Golly, I like the way he throws his whole body into the tackles. He runs his feet, and he takes the ball carries to the ground. So I'm really impressed with Bray with what he did this past week. Obviously, we acknowledge Drew Pine, not necessarily the quarterback that you're going to be seeing in 2 weeks with Garrett Nussmeier. Maybe not even the quarterback you'll see at the end of the year. Is Peyton Thorne better than Drew Pine? So it's going to get harder.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
Great. I was very impressed with what he did. I thought, in a situation where he was asked to just step in and fill a hole that was needed or fill a hole that was there on the defense, he did exactly that. He played very well. He didn't make any mistakes, really. There's nothing negative that you could say about his performance, and that's a great thing. I'm impressed with him. I think moving forward, as good as Keon Sabb is, I don't really know if Alabama is going to miss him as much as we initially thought.
So this inspired me, Mason, to say, what players haven't we seen for Alabama in big roles that we think could fill big roles? I don't want to take roles away from starters. That's not what I'm trying to do, and I'm not going to ascribe injury to anyone. That's absolutely not what we're trying to do. But 3 guys who aren't getting run, aren't getting a whole lot of play, that could contribute well or could fill in and say, oh, I like that guy. I wrote down 3 names, and ironically, they're all on the defensive end. Did you write all offensive ends?
Yes, I chose to stick with the offensive
all right,
side,
perfect. So I'll go one, you'll go one. Yeah. We'll just go back and forth. My first one that I put down, look, I like what we've seen out of the inside linebacker play, Deontay Lawson, Jihad Campbell, and Justin Jefferson. You've had really, really versatile inside linebacker play. Campbell's played a little bit of Wolf. Jefferson's played a little bit of Wolf. You've got a lot of versatility in that group. But a freshman who is not really a freshman based on, I think he's 17. I don't know how old Justin Okoronkwo is. I don't have a clue how old he is because if you're not familiar with number 41 for Alabama, Justin Okoronkwo, inside linebacker from Germany, true freshman, got into the game. He was in the game this past week when the starters were pulled. I think he's a future star for Alabama. And now, look, you're not going to get on the field over Campbell and over Lawson and over Jefferson right now, and that's A-okay. But I think Okoronkwo is a player that's going to be very, very instinctual. He's shown some instinct already, and you listen to people around the facility, and they say, oh, this guy's going to be a real thumper and going to be a real player. I think just from an athletic standpoint, I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". I think he's a pretty big old dude, and just young. He's got 4 years, and he barely played any high school, any real. I don't know. I don't have a clue how to rate German football.
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't have a clue whether because you heard whether it was sort of high school, it was sort of semi-professional football. It was very strange. But I think Justin Okoronkwo can be a real dog on this team.
Yeah, and I think when you look at somebody like that who, like you said, has played organized football for at this point only a few years and is already playing at the highest level basically in college football at Alabama, it's extremely impressive. His ceiling is extremely high. I think, if this is what his worst is going to be, well, you can really only imagine what the best is going to be, and he will continue to get better and better as he's in the program longer, as he gets more experience. I think getting his feet wet a little bit against Missouri probably helps. So I'm also excited to see what he does.
Make sure you know how to spell Okoronkwo. So you can look that up on your own time. Mason, what do you think?
Moving to the offensive side of the ball, and this is someone that it might be a bit hard to get him involved just because of the position he plays and maybe what he's able to do is kind of, not maybe a little similar to some of the people who also do it on the team. But Richard Young at running back, I just love him. He got the big run against Missouri last week. I think his skill set, he's a great running back. He can do a lot of good things if the ball is in his hands. I think it's hard to get the ball in his hands because of who's in front of him. Will we see him get more involved? Maybe that run against Missouri was a bit of a wake up call for the coaching staff, and we see him. But whether it's going to be tough to get him on the field. Basically, is all you can really say there. I just really like him. He runs so hard. That run against Missouri was
angry.
Awesome. Yeah, yes, angry runner. I don't really know the role. I haven't seen him much as like a pass catcher or anything, so I don't know if they can get him out of the backfield, maybe get him in open space a little bit, catching the ball. But I think you have to find some kind of way just to get him a little more involved with the offense.
I love that pick because I'm with you, and maybe because I love running the football and just the attitude that comes with it. But you're exactly right. Yesterday, our conversation was 19 carries for Jam and Justice, trying to get more, and we're trying to squeeze that third running back in there. You're right. Like, where do you put him?
Yeah.
I think that's a great pick, though, because he is super talented. And look, I don't want to put this out there, but if December comes and Richard Young has his name in the transfer portal, that's going to hurt. You'll be fine with Justice still, and you'll be fine. You're getting some good running backs, in this class.
But he is special, I think.
That's going to hurt, I think. So, Richard Young, great pick. Number 2 for me, though, is a player that's played a little bit this year, got hurt. I'm going to go with Eufaula's own Yanzi Pierre. I think that Yanzi Pierre is going to be number 42, redshirt freshman, former 4- or 5-star recruit, depending on what recruiting services that you see. He was getting involved a little bit this year, spelling Quay Russaw, kind of getting involved in the Quandarius Robinson kind of mixture there. I think he's a player that's going to just be an absolute stud for Alabama. He's got all of the physical traits, and he's just kind of stacked. He's just kind of in a room that's stacked at the moment with Quay Russaw and with Quandarius Robinson. When Robinson moves on, as this is his graduate year, you're not going to get any more Q Robinson after this year. When Robinson moves on, I think it's going to be Yanzi Pierre and Quay Russaw just terrorizing people off the edge. And I would love to see him get more run this year. I know he had some health issues. I know he had a surgery, I think, on his shoulder, on an arm, I think after the Wisconsin game. And so he's been on the shelf just a little bit, and that's probably why we haven't seen him lately. but I love me some Jan Pierre.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Like you said, he's just in a stacked room, kind of a similar situation to Richard Young, where it's just hard to get him on the field because the guys that are in front of him, the guys that are in front of him who are older, are also very good. It's not like you can just yank one of them off the field and say sorry, buddy, because he's still extremely good.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find places for players like that who, the younger guys that are kind of pushing talent wise. Some of the older guys on the team, it's maybe harder to fit them in. But I do think as he continues to get healthier moving forward, maybe we will see him, rotate in a bit more. My next player, and this is just my own personal thing, Kobe Prentice. I love Kobe Prentice, and you're never gonna make me hate Kobe Prentice.
So how do you defend him this week?
You don't?
Come on, I mean, I just drop balls left and right.
You just it's tough. I think you look at the albeit limited flashes where he has shown some elite plays, has had some great stretches here and there. I think where he's made some nice plays. The drops are just atrocious. At this point, it almost seems like maybe it's a confidence thing. So I think in situations like that, when your receiver is maybe struggling with confidence, you just kind of have to maybe force him the ball a little bit, and maybe he goes and makes a play, maybe he doesn't. I just think you have to keep giving him the opportunities to continue to make plays, because otherwise his confidence will continue to stay low. I love the guy. I think he was one of my favorite recruits of the class that he was in. I think he was a very, very good player in high school. He was fun to watch, and I just hope he can get it going. I think I don't think he's a bad receiver by any stretch. I think he's very talented. I would be upset if he transferred somewhere, because of a bad season here. I think he can still have a lot of success for the Alabama offense. They just got to kind of get him going. They got to get him the ball a couple more times, keep giving him some opportunities, let him get his confidence back, and I think it'll be okay.
I like that. I mean, look, I pull for everyone. I know it was a tough week for him.
It's just a bad game.
I really just always pull for everyone, no matter whether playing for Alabama or not. That's how I am. So hopefully you do bounce back. Kobe Prentice. My number 3 is an Alabama fan favorite, Keon Keeley. 5-star Keon Keeley. Haven't seen the field at all in 2 years. You redshirted last year as a freshman. Going from an outside linebacker to now bandit, right, is the official name of the position. The other outside linebacker, the heavier outside linebacker, the more defensive end role. And I think that, again, just like Jan Pierre, stacked room. You got Jamarian Latham. You got LT Overton. Are you going to take LT Overton off the field for Keon Keeley? You're probably not. And you want to get Keon a little more physically developed. But I just want to see him start to get on the field. Maybe that Mercer game is going to be a great opportunity to do that. Maybe that Auburn game, if you get up on Auburn, that's going to be a good opportunity to do that. He's another one, like Richard Young, is if December comes and he says, you know what, I tried bandit and I'm just not quite making waves here. I'm going to go try the transfer portal. I think that's look, Alabama will ultimately be fine in both situations, and the program will continue to roll on. But I do think that losing Keon Keeley would be a painful loss in the offseason, and I'd like to start seeing him get a little bit of run in these last 4 games.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he's a guy who I really liked coming out as a recruit. I thought he could do a lot when he got here, and he just unfortunately has kind of been buried on the depth chart a bit. I still think he's very talented. I think if he finds his way into that rotation, he will provide very solid, play time. My last offensive player, and this is another one that's maybe a little bit of just a personal pick, but I do think getting this guy going could open the offense up a lot, and that's Emmanuel Henderson. I think what he provides, having the skill set of both, running back and wide receiver, he's a hard player for defenses to scheme against. I think if you can get him going underneath, you can get him going, whatever you want to do with him, it opens up so much more for your offense if the defense has to worry about him as well. And I think in the bursts that we have seen him, he's been very effective. I just think they've got to kind of like Kobe Prentice. Just get him the ball more. Just like we said with Justice and Jam, just get them the ball more. Get the ball more into the hands of your playmakers. Don't force Jalen Milroe to do everything himself. And I think Emmanuel Henderson, if he can just get the ball a little more, would do great things with the ball in his hands.
Pride of Calera, correct? No. We just we looked it up. Geneva County. Geneva County.
Yeah.
All right. Geneva County. So I know Emmanuel Henderson is a big fan favorite. I think that'd be a great pick for this Alabama offense. All right, so you can let us know, what players do you want to see more over the last month? What players do you think need to have a little bit more of a role or could fill in the same sort of way that Bryson Hubbard did this past week against Missouri? Before we finish it up and talk to you about Bama in the NFL, let me tell you about our friends Druid City Music Hall. They are the premier place for live music in Tuscaloosa, right there on the strip. They're in between Glory Bound and Waffle House. You can see Ashley Cook this Saturday. Still lots of tickets available. druidcitymusichall.com/shows. Next week, next Thursday, November 7th, Austin Snell. And then Friday, you're going to have Charles Wesley Godwin. So lots of up-and-coming artists going to be performing right there at Druid City Music Hall. Ashley Cook is kind of hot on the fresh country scene. She's kind of up and coming right there. Want to get your tickets right there. Saturday, November 2nd, Ashley Cook, Druid City Music Hall. You can visit them online at druidcitymusichall.com/shows. All right, it's Tuesday. Enjoyed a little Monday Night Football last night. And so we should look at Alabama in the NFL. Lots of Bama on Bama crime this week. I think Bryce Young might have thrown an interception to Pat Surtain.
It was a bit of an interesting look seeing the Alabama football account post that without any acknowledgement that Bryce Young was the one that threw the interception.
Absolutely. So your Bryce Young numbers, he was 24 of 37, 224 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Tua lost as well. Jalen Hurts, the only winner, 16 of 20, 236. Stealing all of my Saquon Barkley touchdowns on the goal line with the tush push. What'd you think? Bama in the NFL, third straight week for Najee Harris, 100 yards. Brian Robinson, really, really good player for the Commanders.
Continues to just be one of the most solid backs in the NFL.
Is that not surprising to you?
Yeah, I thought, honestly, I never really expected him to even do a whole lot at Alabama. I thought he was always kind of going to be one of those guys who just unfortunately got buried on the depth chart. But he got his time here. He was a great running back in his time at Alabama when he got the opportunity to be. Goes to Washington. What was he drafted? What was he, like a
third or fourth round
pick? Yeah, so they pick him up. And, I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, that's a little interesting. But, hey, he's a solid player. He can probably do a little bit. But he has blown all of my expectations completely out of the water. He's if you play fantasy football, he's one of the best fantasy football running backs in the entire NFL. So yeah, no, he's great. He's fantastic. I think they rely on him a lot to get that offense going, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. He is kind of that engine and then Jaden Daniels is like, I guess, the spark plug that really fires it up. But without Brian Robinson, they
struggle a little bit.
I think so.
The time
he gives them a lot of power.
Yeah.
And I was with you. I thought, he's going to go to the NFL and get washed out, but he has really made a role for himself, and I'm really impressed with him. I know the Commanders broke my heart this week, but he was really impressive, and I am a Brian Robinson owner in fantasy football, and he is every single week double digits, touchdown on the goal line, just making it happen for my fantasy football team, and I appreciate it. Favorite Bama in the NFL moment this week, was it Bradley Bozeman?
Possibly. I don't know, though. Jahmyr Gibbs, that long run he had was whoo-wee. But, yeah, Bradley Bozeman, that was
Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 carries, 127 yards. He had the 70-yarder for a touchdown. He leads. He and Josh Jacobs actually each had 127 yards. Josh Jacobs, holy smokes.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs also
2 touchdowns for him. Jalen with 3 on the ground. So, them boys are getting it done on the ground.
They are. But Bradley Bozeman, if you are
is he a guy you want on your side?
Absolutely. That is a guy you want on your team. If anybody that did not see it, I don't even know who it was that was making the tackle, but Justin Herbert, is getting tackled, and the defender is just violently trying to twist his knee and ankle and leg, and very obviously try to injure him. It was not like there was no gray area here. This was black and white. This guy was absolutely trying to injure Justin Herbert. I don't know if he was asked about it after the game, or if there's been any punishment laid down, against him since, but maybe he'll, get a fine this week. But anyway, Bradley Bozeman just comes over and just demolishes the guy. And I think he was asked after the game about it, and he just, said something about like, oh, that's my quarterback. You got to protect your quarterback. But it was just awesome. If you have not seen it, I encourage you to go find it on Twitter. I guarantee you can just search Bradley Bozeman and you can find the clip.
in Shepard is what she has, is what Christy has for the New Orleans defender, Noah Shepard, maybe.
Yeah.
But they both received a penalty. Bozeman, that was offsetting penalties.
Hey, that's a penalty that you're okay with.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I don't know if that's an offsetting penalty. I think that's a good job, offensive lineman, and we'll take 15 yards and you go lick your wounds on the side. I mean, going back to officials, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Just defending your quarterback there.
Yeah, I don't think any. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a coach that had an issue with what he did there. That was an awesome play. I love to see anytime an offensive lineman or all the 5 offensive linemen come to the defense of their quarterback is very, very good.
All right, so that's our Bama in the NFL. We want to encourage you. Look, Christy Patrick does a great job for BamaCentral.com.
Yes.
You can type Alabama on SI. Bama in the NFL is right there on the top tab. And she has a spreadsheet. Like, this spreadsheet has every carry, every target for the wide receivers, every rush. It has all the offensive linemen, all the defensive players, every tackle, play percentages. If you want to keep up with Bama in the NFL, Christy Patrick is doing a great, great job each and every week on BamaCentral.com. So we encourage you to check that out on BamaCentral.com. So look, we're going to get out of here for the day. But I want to tell you about a project that we're also working on. When I first started with BamaCentral.com, we had a podcast, All Things Bama, and Mason Woods is going to be taking over that podcast. So make sure you go subscribe or check out All Things Bama. We're going to do an episode today, and I think he's going to lead it, and I'll just play the second role for him. So if you like this dynamic, we will flip the roles just a little bit, and Mason will be leading All Things Bama for us on BamaCentral.com, I believe, once a week.
Yeah, that's the plan for now. We'll see if anything changes moving forward. For now, we're going to get a nice little tight episode for you every week. And on today, we're gonna talk about Bama basketball. We didn't get a chance to talk about it today. Bama had an exhibition game last night against Memphis, and they were impressive. But there's a lot of things to clean up. So we'll get into that more on the All Things Bama podcast today.
Absolutely. So it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys right here in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. Call Derek and his team, Red Reese in Victoria, at 205-758-3391. Check us out right here, the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, or All Things Bama Podcast, part of the Bama Central Broadcasting Network. Oh, I can say that again. I used to say that when we had 2 or 3 podcasts. Now that we have a second podcast, the network is alive again. And we'll get out of here for the day. Be back tomorrow to talk to you again right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.